Hi, everyone, to our next session with Daniela. Daniela is a senior manager of experience architecture at Autodesk. I let her do her amazing introduction and her talk. Welcome, Daniela.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And hi, everyone. I'm Daniela Steinsapir. I'm a senior manager of experience architecture at Autodesk. I'm also an independent consultant helping companies to build trusted AI. I'm very excited to be here today to talk to you about building trust through collaboration, empowering customers for responsible AI development. So I will start with the safe harbor statement. I won't read it, the entire safe harbor statement to you, but I will highlight the first point, that these statements are not intended to be a promise or guarantee of any business results or any future availability of products and services. And all this content that I will be sharing today, it is confidential. So please do not share without permission. And that some of the statements that you'll hear today are giving in my personal capacity, and some of my statement may not necessarily reflect the views of Autodesk at large. So let's get started a little bit. So first of all, the agenda for today, I'm going to start with an intro and context of the research that was done. Then I will move on with the research process on how did we get here. And I will start also deep diving into the findings and insights of the research. Okay, so let's get into it. At Autodesk, we define artificial intelligence as the theory and development of computer systems able to perform tasks that normally require human intelligence and in some cases will surpass it. A little bit more background. Autodesk first began sharing our research on AI and generative technologies within the academic community as early as 2009. The first paper explored the possibility of developing evolutionary algorithms that will help designers optimize for specific traits like strength and weight and consider hundreds or even thousands of potential design options. And the Autodesk Lab was funded to conduct fundamental and applied research in AI and machine learning in 2018. So let's get started with trusted AI. At Autodesk, we have very well-defined set of data ethics practices at Autodesk, and we work to train our employees and to establish best practices for the careful review of the use of data. The insights that I will be sharing today integrate learnings that we did through an entire year of user research, and that culminated at Autodesk University, which is our external-facing conference. So why did we do this work? Generative AI became mainstream faster than we anticipated. However, along with this excitement, these newer technologies have also raised some concerns. And now we're challenged to understand the risks that come from automating these new technologies at scale. So we recognize the importance of responsible AI development and implementation. So the goal of this work, of this research, was to create a safe and open environment for discussion and exploration of potential trust and ethics concerns. Because it is through the collective efforts of more people learning how to identify and address concerns that we will be able to resolve and develop responsible AI for everyone. In this work, we encourage our participants to share their most candid and honest feedback, and we encourage them to be bold and courageous. And we will explain what we meant by being bold and courageous. For this work, we've partnered with a well-renowned data ethicist, Dr. Ruman Chahuri, to help us explore red teaming methodologies in order to uncover ethics and trust concerns in generative AI. Red teaming is a research strategy that comes from cybersecurity that involves challenging assumptions by simulating a negative scenario, something that can go wrong, with the goals of training and learning. In this research exercise, we never really focused on product development. It was really focused on learning and training. So the customers were never really focused on testing a product that is in development. So here's the overview of the work that was done. More than 100 different customers participated in different research phases. Both customer executives and end users joined sessions. By end users, I refer to those customers that actually use our software every day. Many of the customers that joined this session had prior experience with generative AI at work. And almost 87.5 participants felt that actually generative AI could indeed enhance and augment the creative process. And although participants understood that generative AI is not yet set up for their industries, for example, generative AI was not yet set up to understand some technical, architectural, or mechanical engineering terms, participants saw the potential that it has as we develop it further. And both architects and mechanical engineers joined the user research throughout the entire year. Here's a video that will kind of give you an overview of the work that was done.
Actually have conducted 4 generative AI research workshops at the event. The first 2 of which were red teaming events.
Red teaming and this type of user research is very common in cybersecurity, but it's completely new to our industries. So by partnering with world-acclaimed data ethicists, we got this experience and their guidance to actually do it right.
So the customers have been putting in their prompts, getting back their images, and most importantly, providing us feedback on 2 big themes. One of them is, how is this technology potentially helping or hindering your creative process? Is it making you more creative? Is it putting you in a box? The other thing that we're exploring with customers in these red teaming sessions is where that gray line is about intellectual property. People are very worried about my intellectual property being taken in the forms of my designs into these large models. The large models then spitting back out stuff that I consider myself to have a ownership of or a strong interest in.
So they were entering prompts that were descriptive and specific. So once they started to generate those prompts, they started to generate images. They were able to label images, whether they were helpful or not helpful, negative or positive use cases. And then they were asked to actually enter their comments and their thoughts.
So here you kind of saw like the experience, the hands-on experience that we did at the conference. And overall, the experience was very well received. And Autodesk was seen as a trusted industry partner with no sales-oriented agenda. And participants, customers were really engaged and excited to actually be part of these conversations. The experience was particularly successful as a hands-on approach for participants to voice their concerns in a safe place while undertaking a design task that they normally do. So we kind of simulated a design task that they do every day so that it was something more natural, more which they were completely comfortable with. And this experience was strengthened even more by having a discussion afterwards led by an AI ethicist, which made actually the experience much more impactful and thought-provoking. Here are some quotes of some of the participants that they shared with us after the research experience. The session, for example, was very enlightening to someone who was slightly reluctant to the concept of AI-aided design. We had participants that were, very excited about AI and also that were also, reluctant and worried. Let me walk you through the research process on how we got here. It was quite a long process. It involved, for example, me volunteering at a DEF CON, which is one of the biggest hacker conferences in the world, where actually I participated and I did a red teaming exercise. So by red teaming in this scenario was like each one of us got different challenges, and you were encouraged to try to make the learning language model say or give information that it was not supposed to. So we took those learnings and those experiences and imagined how would it look like within the context of Autodesk. And at the conference, we kind of explored those hands-on challenges at the external conference, at Autodesk conference, and we kind of adapted to what made sense for us. But before getting there, we did quite a lot of user research and a lot of testing and prototyping. As you saw in the video, we gathered that empirical evidence of customers' trust concerns by allowing our participants to interact with an app, right, which delivered provocative design images created by publicly available generative AI services, which captured their reaction both negative and positive. And this was very intentionally planned because we realized that our customers, are not really trained or don't have the mindset to look for negative scenarios. So we wanted to make it positive and negative scenarios so that we can actually compare them. And traditionally in the cybersecurity world, the positive scenario is called blue teaming. So it's generally called red teaming and blue teaming. Although we didn't do exact red teaming, we explored these methodologies and made sense of it within the context of Autodesk. The experience engaged customers in exploration of their concerns with generative AI related to two things: intellectual property and the future of creativity. They were giving a design task. For example, architects were giving a design task to redesign the entrance of the MoMA. And for mechanical engineers, they were asked to redesign the exterior of an electrical pickup truck, which they had to label and enter their comments. So specifically for each of the tasks, they were asked whether generative AI is helpful or unhelpful during their creative process, and whether generative AI can help reuse the work of others responsibly. So let's start with the findings. The first finding is that initially, there were different perspectives between executives and those who actually use our software every day, that we called end users, regarding the willingness to share process and design data. Executives kind of understood that in order to advance the industry, we need kind of that data sharing. After the exercise, end users reported being much more open to sharing process and design data, similar to how executives were from the beginning. And we think this is because participants saw the benefits of really having that collective knowledge, and participants understood the role that they play in helping shape the future of AI for their particular industry by sharing training data, which was really kind of good news because we saw over and over a lot of reluctance about data sharing. On the creative process side, we participants found that generative model to be generally successful at creative content that was innovative and beautiful. Participants who were more willing to embrace new and creative ideas from generative AI expressed greater confidence in using generative AI responsibly and ethically in their work, which is a nice correlation. If I'm open to using generative AI at work, I'm kind of more open and have greater confidence that generative AI can be used responsibly and ethically. Here in the screen, you can see the interface of what we got after the exercise. You can see that this was for architecture. This is the prompt that the user entered, and this is the comment that it was given. So as you can see, this customer labeled this image to be very helpful for their creative process. Another example, which is much more complex, is on the IP infringement side. There was a clear agreement between architects and mechanical engineers about what is copied and what is inspired work. And that has to do with how recognizable the elements are. Unrecognizable elements gave the impression that it was inspired work, but recognizable elements are such as logos and famous car design styles that are very easy to identify. So in this case, for example, the prompt was not about Rivian, but in the comments, you can see that the mechanical engineer actually recognized Rivian elements, and it felt that this use was completely inappropriate. In contrast, for the architecture side, the prompt was actually create a facade that has similar design features like the Sagrada Familia by Antonio Gaudí. The architects felt that the design showed that it was actually inspired by the Sagrada Familia by Gaudí, but it was not an exact replica. So the participant labeled the image as acceptable use. However, though, this gray zone, when you don't know if it's acceptable or not acceptable use, was seen as a provocation for participants and encouraged them to consider how would they define this gray area where customers really don't know. And this actually has to do with that our customers have limited understanding of IP laws, and how they use AI becomes a personal ethical consideration. And it has to do as well with the source of inspiration. The source of inspiration is much more complex because there's different opinions of what is considered ethical or not. So let me give you an example. If an architect sees a building in the street and loves it, is inspired by it, takes a photo of that building, goes back to the studio and does some sketches, and at the end result of the building ends up looking just like the photo or another building that exists, that process may be considered ethically correct, as the architect used their own intellect and their own creative process to come up with the final design. And also architects get inspiration by other designs all the time. However, though, if an architect uses AI to come up with ideas, and at the end the result looks like another building, it will probably be perceived as unethical. AI could be perceived to be biased and not to have the same level of originality as a human professional due to the insufficient training data, because the data was biased. So the output of the AI can be seen as directly replicating an existing design, influencing the creative direction. So here we see a clear example that this gray area becomes very complicated, and this is a big opportunity for further research. And also the source of inspiration and how it is used becomes a complex personal decision. Lastly, the last finding I wanted to share today is that an example of an AI hallucination. This was completely unexpected that happened during the session. So low up, the AI phantom shows up on people's generation. Is always a woman wearing a black hat and a black dress. And it showed up, and luckily one of the participants actually knew about it and was able to identify it. And this really generated quite a lot of excitement and provoked thought, not only to customers, but also to the Autodesk team. It really highlighted the impact of AI hallucinations could have on customer experience and on the level that they trust or not AI tools. So overall, Autodesk was seen as a trusted industry partner. Participants were relieved that ethical discussions were happening. It was seen with no really sales-oriented agenda. And these participants were happy and really reported that they would be willing to continue doing this type of research. They felt empowered. They felt that, you know, they were participating in something bigger. And this is kind of my big point that I want to make today is like, how can we empower customers to build responsible AI? They understood, participants saw and understood that everyone has a role to play, because we have an opportunity to empower our customers to be active contributors in helping us build responsible AI rather than being passive recipients. And it is through the collective efforts of more people learning how to identify, raise, and address concerns that we will be able to resolve and develop ethical and responsible AI for everyone. Additionally, there are some other opportunities, for example, to continue exploring creative and derivative work boundaries, because those boundaries are yet not clear. Also to help define that gray zone that we discussed, because at the end it becomes a personal decision, but we need frameworks around it. Also to further the persona-based research, because different personas react differently. I hear a voice. I think that somebody has their music.
Yeah, you can wrap. You can wrap
Yeah,
now.
I wrap up. Yeah, so I just wanted to highlight, like, this was a big effort. It was a big team who was behind this work. So I want to thank you all, my collaborators, and I want to thank you for being here today with me. And this is my contact information if you have any questions or would like to talk more about it. Thank you so much. And I will stop sharing my screen, and I'm not sure if we have time for questions or discussions.
Yeah, I think we'll end now. Thank you so much. People know how to reach you on LinkedIn. Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.